So before I knew better, um, I thought that business assets were just all about things that you created. Like before I knew better, I thought business assets were things like your intellectual property, physical assets like inventory or buildings or equipment. I thought that business assets were things like human resources, right? But one of the things I've learned since being in business is that there are some very personal things that couldn't be considered business assets. And I had to learn this the kind of tooth and nail way, right? Like kind of the grind and get it out of the mud way. And so I want to share with you guys three ways that I'm currently using my health as an asset in my business because I recently made a like very big observation. I've had maybe the last 4 years I've had three different coaches and I've noticed something that all three of them have very distinctly done since during the time that I was under them, since under during the time I was working under them. And it was a very keen observation that I recently just tied together because these are three very different people in three different industries and they are all running seven-figure businesses. And I noticed something that they all have in common. And so it made me think about how I could break this down for you guys today, especially those of you who have been in business a certain number of years. You're kind of settled into what you're selling. You're kind of settled into how you understanding how you generate revenue for your business, and now you're kind of getting into a place of business where you have to be more strategic, more intentional. And as I was kind of thinking about recently what assets we have in our business, there was one very distinct asset that I decided to talk about today and that I identified, but that I really saw that my coaches in the last 4 years has all started tapping into as well, and that is essentially our health. And it's very interesting because this is kind of full circle for me because I started in this space 10 years ago, right? So when I first started in entrepreneurship back in 2015, I ran initially an online personal training company, and eventually that transitioned to me working specifically with entrepreneurs, C-suite executives on their health. And the business at that time was called Professionally Fit. And at Professionally Fit, we really prioritize helping entrepreneurs and professionals understand the importance of their health and the impact that has on their business. And now, like going almost 10 years later, it's coming full circle again. And I'm really in this season where I really want to help entrepreneurs tie their legacy to their longevity, right? Their legacy to their longevity, and making sure they understand like those two really, if you do this thing right, need to run parallel with each other. Like as we are working so hard every day to create a legacy for ourselves, for our business, whatever our personal assignment is on this planet, I want to make sure we're also understanding the importance of the same time of making sure that we secure our longevity, right? And so longevity is not just about how long we live, but it's really about how long we live well. And I think sometimes we set the bar too low where we're just trying to stay alive. And we're just like, I know people who live to 90, I know people who live to 100. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But were they well? Like, were they healthy enough to do all the things that God has assigned them to do? And so I want to make sure that as we become more and more seasoned and refined as entrepreneurs and as business owners, that we're understanding the marriage between legacy and longevity. And so when this divine download came to me, like literally just in the last several hours, about how I personally leverage my health in my business, I was really thinking about why it's important for me now as I'm approaching the 10-year mark in my business versus where I was in 2015, when I was just trying to get off the ground and trying to figure this business thing out. And I think my journey is similar to many entrepreneurs in that in the beginning of your business, you're really just really trying to lay the foundation and get a better understanding of what you sell. You're trying to get an understanding of who your target client is. You're trying to master articulating your value. You're trying to master sales. You're trying to master marketing. You're trying to, at the same time, create a high quality product or service. And a lot of times you're like throwing stuff at the wall, trying to see what sticks. and you're really using a lot of your energy. You're really like putting everything you have into trying to figure this thing out so you can have a solid foundation. But then most of us, we get to a point, which is kind of where I am now, where like I have that foundation. I know what we sell. I know what we don't sell. I know who we service. I know who we don't service, right? We have, generated a consistent amount of revenue every year. We feel confident in being able to achieve a certain level of success every year. And now it's getting to a point where we have to be more strategic. And sometimes when people think strategy in business, they're only thinking about business concepts and they're only thinking about business acumen. However, one of the biggest assets that we have in our business, especially if you're in a coaching industry or in an industry where you're really like coming face to face with your clients on a regular cadence. So basically a service-based business. So if you're a service-based business, one of the things that I believe is strongly undervalued in our business, as when we kind of look at the assets that we have in our business, is the health of ourselves. And so I was thinking about like three distinct areas that I really had to ramp up and become extremely sharp in order to maintain a certain level of success in business as we continue to grow and scale. So I want to break those down for you really briefly today. Welcome back to my channel, boys and girls. Hey, y'all. So I'm Lisa Smith, founder of the Black Health Academy, where we have 3 distinct coaching programs: health coaching, business coaching, and personal development. And I am here every Monday, the Plant Protocol Live, with me talking health, talking business, and how we marry those 2 things together to have success in our personal and professional lives. So welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, thank you so much for being here, first of all. And I hope you enjoy what you hear enough to subscribe today. But so here's the thing. I was thinking about everything that I do. I'm personally in a mastermind. I personally run a mastermind. And I was recently thinking about everything that I have to do in business on a regular basis just to keep things where they are, but then the things I have to do to take us to the next level. And so when I was in my mastermind meeting this morning, we have an accountability call every morning. And one of my coaches asked, like, what do you have going on today? And then where are you emotionally, right? And I was very proud to respond to that question and talk about how clear I was and how much mental clarity I had, because I have to do a lot of creation over the next several days. I have several classes I have to teach. I have some talks I have to give. And I was really thinking about all the content that I need to create for those things to be effective. And then that got me kind of going down a rabbit hole of thinking about how am I able to create on demand so much? I don't know how you guys, dish out and create content in your business. But for me, like, it's a daily thing, whether it's posting on social media, whether it's recording a podcast, whether it's coaching my clients, whether it's enhancing curriculum, whether it's teaching for other organizations, or whether it's speaking engagements. Like, across all of these things require so much creativity. And so I got to thinking, like, wow, how is it that I'm able to pump out this much content on such a regular cadence and not lose my mind, right? Like, how can I do this and still genuinely enjoy my work? And so it got me to thinking about how I use my health as an asset in my business. And so let me break this down for you guys who are kind of at the same place where you've reached a point in business where you're not a beginner anymore. You're not a novice. You feel confident that you're going to stay in business. So you're not at a place where you're like, this may or may not work. I may or may not still need a 9 to 5. Like, you're at a place where, like, my business is my main squeeze, right? And now you have to make sure that you, as the creator or as the producer or as the talent in your business, you're optimized. You're at a place where your optimization is no longer negotiable. So those are the people I want to talk to today. Those who are at a place in business where your optimization is no longer negotiable. In the beginning, like, you spend late nights, early mornings, you tire yourself out because there's so much to figure out. But now you're at a place where you have systems, you probably have a team, right? You have products and services, you have clients that are relying on you to show up. And at this point in business, your optimization is no longer optional, right? You're at a place where if you're not optimized, things can go way left in business. So here are 3 ways that I personally use my health as an asset in my business. It's so crazy. I used to think of assets as just like IP, products, services, but now I actually see my health as an asset in my business where, if we don't protect this asset, things could go way left. And so there are 3 types of endurance that I find that I need in business to be successful. And then there's 3 ways that I ensure that I have that endurance. So let's start off with number 1. The first type of endurance, which I kind of alluded to earlier, is creative endurance. So in business, when you're like not super seasoned, super mature, but I'm not brand new. I'm not a startup, right? 10 years in. So I'm at this place where we're still creating a lot, right? And so I'm still enhancing our curriculums across our 3 coaching programs. We're posting on social media every single day. I'm live on YouTube every Monday. I drop a podcast every Sunday. And that's just a public podcast. I actually have 2 podcasts. I have a private podcast that's streamed just for my clients and my mastermind. So I actually have 2 podcasts that drop, and then I have talks that I do when I get booked to speak. And so there's so many opportunities for me to show up in different places, but for me to show up, I have to be creative. I usually have to have good titles for stuff that I'm doing. I have to have good content within those titles, right? Because we want our content to be so good that people come back to consume it. And so the very first type of endurance you need in business is creative endurance. For me, creative endurance requires mental clarity. It requires me to be able to hear the divine downloads that God has given me on a daily basis so that I can take that and turn it into content, turn it into valuable content. And so when it comes to creative endurance, there's a couple ways that I make sure I have the mental clarity to be able to create on a daily basis. And the one, which is a little less known to people, is my leg strength. So one of the ways that I ensure I have creative endurance is literally by working my legs 3 to 4 times a week. So most people, like, this is well known kind of in the neurological space when it comes to like dementia and aging, that the strength and the health of your legs is directly tied to the strength and the health of your brain, right? And so for me, like, leg day is at least 4 times a week. I'm working legs, not just for the sake of having nice legs, but for the sake of literally making sure my brain is firing and that my brain is really strong. So that's one of the main ways I ensure I have mental clarity. Hey, y'all. Hey, Paris. Thank you for hopping on. That's one of the ways that I like to ensure that I have that mental clarity, is making sure my leg strength is really good. So I work out probably 6 to 7 days a week. But I do legs at least 4 of those days. Really important. So I can have the mental clarity to get the divine downloads that I need to be creative. Another way that I make sure I have full access to my brain so that my creativity is what it needs to be is I avoid all refined processed sugar. So for me, I'm a whole food plant-based vegan, but very specifically within my dietary regimen, sugar is absent because sugar causes memory lapses, and it impedes creativity. It causes hyperactivity in the brain, which means now you can't focus and concentrate. So when it comes to concentration, when it comes to recall, right, when it comes to just overall creativity, sugar is anti all of that. So me personally, I don't consume any refined processed sugar. Now, let me be clear. This is important because just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're sugar free. There's like a whole lot of vegans who still eat a whole lot of junk, and sugar is vegan technically. And so there's a bunch of vegan desserts and vegan junk food that's full of sugar. I don't consume that stuff, even though I'm vegan. So one of the ways I make sure that I have full access to my brain so that I can create effectively in my business is I avoid all refined processed sugar. Super important. Super important. If you want to have creative endurance in business, you have to make sure your mind is clear. So no brain fog, right? You have to be sound. You have to be able to sit down. Like when it's time for me to sit down and write, when it's time for me to sit down and create a presentation because, someone is paying me to come talk to their audience or be on their stage, I have to make sure I'm fully present. So the other thing that sugar does that impedes upon creativity is it causes blood sugar crashes, right? So if you're eating a bunch of refined sugar, there's no fiber present, your blood sugar is going to spike, but it's going to crash just as quickly. And so that also compromises the effectiveness of your mind and of your brain, right? So for me, creative endurance means that I'm working legs multiple days a week. I'm avoiding refined sugar, and I can go even deeper on the diet. And then also my sleep hygiene is important for creative endurance. So being well rested, like just being tired alone compromises your blood sugar and your ability to focus and concentrate. And you guys have all experienced this, like trying to sit down and do some work, but you low key tired as hell. Yeah, that's not going to work, especially if you want to create really high quality content and curriculum on a regular basis, right? So creative endurance in business for me is all about making sure I'm sleeping well. And that doesn't mean sleeping long, that means sleeping well. There's a difference, right? You can sleep for a long time, but not necessarily be well rested. Okay. So sleeping well. So your sleep hygiene, avoiding all refined processed sugar, working legs multiple days a week, all of those things are going to improve your ability to create. Okay. Super important. And I would say, if there's one more thing I would add here for my mind, it will probably be mindfulness, because the other issue that most of us have is most of us don't have control over our own thoughts, right? So most of us have so much hyperactivity in the brain because we constantly have multiple tabs open, like on a computer, right? So you got all these tabs open, and each tab has unfinished task. And so we're not completing things because we're jumping around. Our thoughts are jumping around. Our ideas are jumping around. And so for me, mindfulness, meditation on a daily basis really helps me to maintain control of my thoughts and make sure that when I sit down to create, I'm able to focus and stay in the moment as opposed to getting distracted by intrusive thoughts. Okay. So mindfulness, no sugar, working legs, all of that aids in my creative endurance, which then becomes an asset in my business. The second way that I leverage my health as an asset in my business is for physical endurance, right? So the first is creative. I think that's the most important for me because I always have to create. I always have to be on. I always have to create something for an audience to be attracted to so that they continue to come back for more. It's so important in business, right? You want to make sure everything you create is attractive to your audience. But then the second way that I leverage my health in my business is for physical endurance, right? I'm going to say two: physical confidence and physical endurance. So physical confidence means like sitting in front of you right now, I'm physically confident in my body so that I'm not shying away from the camera or the mic. Some people have so many insecurities physically that they're unable to show up in their business repeatedly and consistently, right? Because they're seeing themselves on camera, they don't like what they see, and it causes them to shy away and say stuff like, I can't do this. I like to play the background. I'm meant for the background. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person. You're not a front of the scenes kind of person because you're so insecure, right? And so physical confidence and physical endurance. When it comes to physical endurance, for me, that has to do with travel. Okay. So are you physically capable to keep up with the demands of your business? Now, me, I get booked to speak in different places around the world. And also, I'm currently traveling with a film that I was featured in. And so we have film premieres coming up in different cities across the US. And I got to be on, right? Next month in April, I'll be in Omaha, Nebraska, 1 month for the film premiere. The following weekend, I'll be in Vegas for the film premiere. There's some more coming up that we just got accepted to. Then I got speaking engagements. I'm speaking at somebody's conference in July. I'm speaking at the Vegan Women's Summit in Hollywood in California in May. Like, we got stuff coming up this fall. I got retreats for my clients. We have a retreat in May. We have another retreat in October. So the physical endurance that's required for me to be active in my business and be on is so important. So how do I maximize my health for the physical requirements of my business, of my coaching company, right? I would say the first thing and most important is my diet. I'm a whole food plant-based vegan, and the physical ability, let's not underestimate this. And let me pause here for a quick second. So many people wake up every day unwell. Like, they wake up with joint pain, hip pain, stomach pain, constipated. I wake up and I'm still tired. They're overweight, so they can't move as fluidly and easily as they would like to. Going up and down steps tires them out. Running to catch a plane is out of the question. Insecurities about, what they look like on a stage. And so that takes up mental real estate, and they're not able to perform because they're partially distracted about what they look like and what people think of them. Like, your physical, I feel y'all on the equality and on body positivity, but let's just be clear, okay? Number one, being overweight is unhealthy. Full stop. I don't know why we think excess visceral fat on our body that there's no risk associated with that. I don't care if you do or don't have a diagnosis. I don't care if you are or aren't on medication. Having excess visceral fat surrounding your organs is a health risk. period. So yeah, shout out to the body positivity people. I get it. And then let's also be clear, the mental anguish of being overweight when you don't want to be. I get some of y'all want to be overweight, go for it. I'm talking about y'all who are overweight and don't want to be. The mental anguish and the mental real estate that comes with being overweight, and the insecurities and the stress and the thinking about what you look like and gotta find stuff that's flattering to wear, and I'm saying this from somebody who used to be overweight. So this is not me, this is not theoretical. This is, I used to be over 65 pounds overweight. And it wasn't until I lost it that I was able to buy back the mental real estate. Like one of the things I tell some of our clients in our coaching programs is I lost weight because I got sick of thinking about losing weight. Okay. So when I lost the weight, I could stop thinking about losing weight. And I was able to buy back some of my time, buy back some of my mental real estate. The physical endurance and the physical requirements of your business simply require you to take better care of your physical health, period. In a business, a lot of times we're like, go, go, go. I'm trying to get this thing off the ground. I ain't got time to eat. I don't have time to sleep. I don't have time to drink water. Like, I get it, right? Sometimes you're in a season where you're traveling a lot. Business is good. Business is booming. But I'm telling you right now, somebody in your industry will surpass you, can surpass you, just because they can physically endure the demands of the business better than you, period. You need creative endurance and you need physical endurance. And one of the primary ways that I maintain my physical health so that I'm healthy enough to keep up with the demands of my business and my clients and my opportunities is with my whole food, plant-based vegan diet, right? And then with consistent exercise, consistent, not like when I can get around to it, not like when it's not the weekend, like consistently moving so that when, I get that call and they're like, yo, we need you in Vegas this weekend. And we need you in Omaha the next weekend. And we need you in DC this weekend. And we need you back in Detroit this weekend. And I'm like, let's get it. There's nothing where I'm be thinking like, oh my God, I'm too tired to do this. Oh my God, I got this pre-existing condition. Oh my God, I got to reorder medications so that I can have some on the road. No, when you don't have to take medications, when you don't have pre-existing conditions that you need medical equipment for, I don't have to haul a CPAP machine around with me. I don't need help. I don't need help outside of what God created. You know how much of a blessing that is? And I need you guys to prioritize having that same luxury, right? And so that requires you to get up every day, move your body, and put fuel in your body that's designed to help you be better and doesn't compromise your health, right? So for me, it's a whole food, plant-based vegan lifestyle. It is physical exercise on a regular basis so that I have, number one, the physical endurance to keep up with the demands of business. But number two, I have the body confidence to show up publicly in my business, right? So I put my hot little number on, sashay across somebody's stage, sashay across somebody's red carpet, because it's never nothing. If she called me tonight and was like, I need you somewhere tomorrow. If she called me tonight and was like, I need you back in Cali tomorrow to come do this talk back for the film, I got my little black number ready to go. I don't have to like, oh, give me 2 weeks to work out and try to lose a few pounds. Like, you got to be ready, right? And so your business requires this of you, and we got to stay ready. So that's number two, my physical endurance and my physical body confidence. I leverage that as an asset in my business by using my diet and using exercise. And the third one, this is so important. The third type of endurance that you need to have success when you are seasoned in business is emotional endurance. Okay. So first we have creative endurance. Second, we have physical endurance. And third, we have emotional endurance. Now, when it comes to emotional endurance, this means that entrepreneurship is truly, guys, can be an emotional roller coaster. It really can, because we only eat what we kill and we have to hunt every day. We only eat what we kill and we have to hunt every single day. So that means that everything that I create, I don't have the luxury of letting my work be good this week, so next week, kind of all right the following week, and back to excellent the fourth week. Like, I had that luxury when I was in a 9-to-5. Like, in a 9-to-5, you can unfortunately get away with your work being, mediocre, kind of vacillating between, average, good, and great. When you're working for somebody else, sometimes you can get away with vacillating between average, good, and great. When you work for yourself, it's got to be great every day. When you work for yourself, you have to wake up every day with a spirit of excellence. Like a spirit of mediocrity cannot even exist in your vocabulary. That requires emotional endurance, because if you just like the day before got that email that told you no thank you on that big pitch you had did, if you just an hour before got off a sales call with a client who was like, nah, not right now, I can't afford it, and that happens to just be the fourth person this week that told you they can't afford it, and you now tomorrow got to show up on somebody's stage like everything is good. You now tomorrow got to go into this next sales call, this next pitch, as if everybody before them have told you yes. You can't go on with that same no, the residue of that no on you, right? That requires emotional endurance. That requires emotional intelligence. So the ways that I optimize emotional endurance in my business are two main ways. Number one for me is meditation and prayer. So meditation helps with one main thing for me. The main thing that meditation has done for me is giving me present moment awareness. So most people live their lives of in one of two places, either reviewing the past or rehearsing the future. Most people live either reviewing the past or rehearsing the future, which means they're rarely in the present moment. And when you don't know how to be in the present moment, usually you don't know how to control your emotions, right? We're either reviewing the past, something that happened that's still causing us anguish. Oh, that sales call went bad, that pitch went bad, that opportunity didn't land. I'm in my feelings about it. It happened last week, it happened yesterday. You're in the past. And you have these emotions around that situation. Or you're in the future. I got this pitch coming up. I got this sales call coming up. I got this opportunity coming up. I'm nervous. I got to do good. How do I look? Whatever it is, right? So you're in the future and your mind is on that. And whatever emotions is coming up about the future is taking over you. We have to be in the present moment. So for me, my emotional endurance, my emotional control, my emotional intelligence has no doubt come from prayer, constantly in the word, studying what God said about me. And then two, meditation, right? That means I'm going into silence. I'm listening. I'm concentrating on my breathing. I'm concentrating on the environment around me. And I am allowing myself to be present with my thoughts so that I can control how I use them, right? You can't typically control what thoughts come up, but you can control how long they stay, right? And so physical, emotional, and creative endurance are so important in business, especially when you're getting to that sweet spot where it's time for things to go to the next level. So that means that, like, listen, I've done the foundational work to establish a business that I'm pretty confident now is going to be around for a long time. But now you've reached that sweet spot where your personal health is now playing an active role in the success of your business. Like when you first get started, it's like a free for all. Like, I don't know what's about to work, right? I know roughly what I want to sell. I know roughly who my customer is. I know roughly how to articulate my value. I'm playing around with price points. I'm playing around with offers. I'm playing around with trying to figure out what platform should I be on to speak to my people. I'm trying to figure out. But when you get to a place where you figured all that out and now you have a foundation and it's time to optimize, the optimization doesn't just start on the back end of your business. The optimization starts with you. The optimization starts with you. Now you got to be creative enough to find 100 different ways to say the same thing over and over again, because that's your marketing, right? Now you have to be creative enough to refine offers every time you get a no. You're like, okay, this pitch ain't land with them. I got to refine it for the next pitch because I know what I'm selling now, but I got to be more creative. Creative endurance is so important. Right. And then physically, right? If you're a speaker like me, if you're a coach like me, I happen to work in the health industry. So my body got to look like what I'm selling. And so I have to physically be confident in my body. I can't be trying to decide whether or not to say yes to an opportunity because they tell me I'm going to be on camera in front of thousands of people. You can call me right now in this moment and tell me I'm about to be on camera in front of thousands of people and I'm sitting on ready. My body is sitting on ready. Like there's not a physical insecurity that's going to get in the way of me taking this opportunity. Right. And then emotional endurance. Entrepreneurship is an emotional roller coaster, point blank, period. And if you have a low EQ, if you don't know how to make decisions when you're not in a heightened state of emotion, you're going to compromise your whole business because you're running your business on feelings and not facts. It is important to have emotions. Emotions is what makes us human. I'm not asking anybody to ignore their feelings. I'm asking you guys to learn how to not make decisions when you're in your feelings. So what are you doing for emotional endurance? What are you doing for physical endurance? What are you doing for creative endurance? All of that is extremely important. Let me give you a takeaway before I give you the Lisa-ism of the day. Here's the takeaway. Now, everything that I talked about things that I'm personally doing. But I have a team. Lean in and listen to this closely, because if you guys are where I am in business, you are also at a point where you cannot be a solopreneur. You can no longer afford to do everything, right? So everything I just mentioned was an individual sport, right? I'm doing the meditation. I'm eating a whole food, plant-based vegan diet. Like, I'm doing an exercise 6 and 7 days a week. That's all me, right? I'm avoiding sugar. But what happens when you have to start outsourcing some of these things to your team? So if I say health is an asset in my business, that means it's not just my health, it's my team's health. So the bonus and the takeaway that I would give you guys here for optimizing health in your company is you have to make sure you have a structure in place that ensures your team is healthy as well, and not just you. You have to ensure your team is healthy as well, and not just you. Now, I'm going to admit I have a cheat code here. Because of the business that I am, I have a cheat code. So I'm in the coaching business. I started off in the health coaching business, right? We do plant-based health coaching, and now we do business coaching and personal development coaching. But my cheat code is that I was able to recruit from my programs. So all of my team has been recruited from all of my coaching programs, which means they studied under me to achieve the level of health that they currently have. And I'm already assured that health is a core value for them. So now that they're on the team and they're helping us accomplish our goals as a company and strive for our mission as a company, I know them all personally, meaning I know them. I know where they are with their health. I know what their challenges are. I know what their strengths are. I know, kind of what their family makeup is. And I can ensure that our conversations during team meetings and during huddles and as we're strategizing is not just talking about the business strategy, but I'm also checking in with their personal health. Like, if you're going to use health as an asset in your business, you can't be the only one healthy. And so my entire team, which is a blessing, comes from my programs. They can either come from Farm to Table, our plant-based coaching program, and or the Plant Protocol, our plant-based business certification, or my mastermind, Clarity. And the foundation of all three of our coaching programs is a plant-based lifestyle. And so I run a team where every single person on the team, all 7 of them, are whole food plant-based vegans. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And all of them prioritize exercise, mindfulness, all of it. And so it's important to note that everything that I personally do to make sure we have creative, physical, and emotional endurance in our business is trickled down to my team, so that as I'm passing the baton to them for certain tasks and certain initiatives, while we have the business strategy in place, we don't lose momentum because their health is compromised. Does that make sense? Like, I'm passing the baton to somebody who can run just as fast as me. So important. So when you get to a certain point in business, and again, I noticed this via the coaches that I've had in the last 4 years. I've had 3 coaches in the last 4 years. All 3 of them run 7-figure companies. All 3 of them, I've watched them in real time. I watched them turn the dial up on their personal health at some point so that business can go to a new level. And I'm like, what a blessing that I'm doing this at this stage before I reach the multi-7-figure mark, 8-figure mark, because this is already going to be a core value. So I won't have to spend as much time mastering it later. I want the same thing for you. I want you to master this health piece now so that you don't have to spend as much time trying to get it later. It's already in place and you can be ahead of the competition. You can be ahead of the competition. So I think one of the blessings for me in business is as we wrap up here, is that I've told a couple friends this, but I have everything that money can't buy. I have everything that money can't buy. And what I've seen with some of my coaches and other people, other of my like entrepreneurial friends, is that they get to a certain place in business and now they're like, shoot, we're making, money consistently. We're generating revenue. Now I got to go buy back my health. Right now, I got to literally go figure out my health and get that solid so I can stay active in my business. And money is typically one of those things you can't buy back, right? You have to actively get after it. You can't just cash out on Monday and have health on Tuesday. Like, it requires an energetic investment, right? And so I have everything that money can buy, and health is one of those things. And when you get to a certain place in business, your health is going to be non-negotiable, or else your business is going to start faltering. Okay. And so I want to encourage all of you guys that don't underestimate the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health when it comes to creating competitive advantage in your industry. Do not underestimate it. And so, really, as much as you can, tie together kind of this idea of legacy and longevity. For me, because I'm on track to make history. I'm just not on track to do good. I'm on track to make history with extending the healthy life expectancy for marginalized communities. I have to make sure that my longevity, right, is running parallel with my legacy. And so I would say the Lisa-ism for today is anything that requires you to compromise your health is not a sacrifice. It's a bad decision. Anything that requires you to compromise your health is not a sacrifice. It's a bad decision. What we have done historically is call sacrificing our health, like calling bad health a sacrifice. Like, oh, I sacrificed my health. I built this business, but now I'm overweight, or I got this condition, or I'm dealing with crippling anxiety or depression, or my relationships are all screwed up. Like, anything that requires you to compromise your health is not a sacrifice. We have to stop using sacrifice the wrong way. If your health is compromised for the sake of making money, it was a bad decision. It was not a sacrifice. It was a horrible decision. Like, oh yeah, I just chugged energy drinks and coffee and ran off of donuts and fast food for 6 years to build this business. That was not a sacrifice. It was a bad decision, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, completely. Like, my marriage is hanging on by a shoestring. My relationship with my kids and my family and friends are barely visible. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was not a sacrifice. That was a bad decision. And so let's just get clear on a difference between sacrifice and a bad decision. Okay. So the Lisa-ism again is anything that requires you to compromise your health is not a sacrifice. It's a bad decision. And if you're at a place in business where you have to start being more strategic versus just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, I need you to understand how your health is now an asset in your business, just like your intellectual property, just like your inventory, just like your human resources. Your health is now an asset in your business that you have to optimize. Okay. Hope this was helpful today, guys. Listen, if you haven't already, if this is your first time here, we're just checking in. If you love what you heard, please consider subscribing. I'm here every Monday at 10 a.m. EST with a new episode on how we're going to marry health and business so that you can take your career to the next level. This is your favorite plant-based coach, Kai, signing off until next Monday. Bye, y'all.